Now today we're going to be talking about how to tint and color match Gelcoat for making the repairs on your boat kind of disappear and go away. Not magic by any means, but there is a lot to cover, so stay tuned and I hope you enjoy the show. Now in this episode, we're going to be focusing on the Gelcoat color matching. Now this particular episode is part of an ongoing fiberglass series that we've been working on for way too long. But that's a whole nother story. I'll include a link to the entire playlist for all of the videos here. In total, I believe right now this is going to be video 5 of that series, but in total I anticipate there's going to be 7. Now, Gelcoat as a base comes in, generally speaking, 3 different colors. You've got white, black, and then neutral. Now, a black base is one that you're going to use if you're looking to match a very, very dark color, say like a black or like a midnight blue. White is a base that that's what you're going to use for almost most boats out there. You know, if they're a white, a cream colored, an off-white, or even like a light colored boat, you know, like a lime green or kind of a rose red. The white base is what you're going to use for that. The neutral base is essentially the poly resin without any pigment to it. I want to say that it's clear, but it isn't really clear. It's almost kind of a snotty brown color. But it takes the pigment very well without really changing the color of the pigment that you're adding. So that is going to be a base that you are going to use if you're looking to get the real bright, vivid colors, you know, like a fire engine red or a bright yellow, green, you know, whatever color it happens to be. If it's a real bright, vivid color, then you'll have to start with the neutral base. Now, both the black and the white, technically, are a neutral base Gelcoat that's already had the pigment added to it. And if you really wanted to be a diehard person, you could just buy the neutral. And if you wanted to start off with a white base, you could add in your white pigment and then move forward from there. Now, when we're looking at the color matching process, I'm not going to get into, I guess the real nuts and bolts of it, as far as dealing with primary colors and mixing those to get your secondary colors. I think that's beyond the scope of what you need to know, for a do-it-yourself type repair. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the color that almost all boats are, which are typically some sort of an off-white, a cream. There might be some subtle, color that's added in there, either a red or a green, that kind of thing. But for the most part, most boats are starting off with a white base, and they're working with 3 main colors. That would be a brown pigment, a yellow pigment, and then a black pigment. Now, if the color that you're looking to match is, I guess, one of those colors where you're going to have to start with a neutral base, so meaning, a real bright color or a real dark color, I really strongly recommend that you cheat. Those colors, anytime you're starting off with a neutral base, those colors are very, very difficult to match, mixing by eye. It can be done, but it is much more difficult to do than, say, starting with a color where you're starting with a white base. For those situations, and again, it doesn't come up all that often because most boats are, white-ish, or a variation thereof. But on those situations where I'm working with a dark hull or a dark color, this is worth its weight in gold. And I'll include links, on where you can get this, what I call a fan card. Basically, what this is, it's a fan deck of all the different colors that you can get or that you can order stock, pre-mixed in pre-tinted. So, if you're looking to match, say, a dark blue color, you basically go through, find the blue palette, and then hold this up to the boat to see, which one is close, which one is closest. More oftentimes than not, you can find a color or a combination of two colors in here that can get you very, very, very close. Another option, and this more applies to newer boats, and by that I mean, boats that are less than 2 years old, I guess, to be honest. You can go to a website. It's called Spectrum Color, and essentially what they are is they're a business that focuses on, providing factory matched gel coats. So, if you have a newer boat, you can call these folks up, and they'll need to know what year of boat, what make, and the model. Occasionally, it does help to have the whole number, if that kind of plays in, if there were some changes, on a production line halfway through. But you can give these folks a call and tell them what you've got, and they can give you the factory matched color when the boat was new. Now, the problem with that is that brand new boats, once they're outside and in the elements, they oxidize. Once they oxidize, their color changes. So even though you've got a relatively brand new boat, you get the factory match color, more than likely it's not going to match because the boat, having been exposed to the sun and UV, has lightened in color. So, even though you get the factory match, you'll still probably have to kind of fine tune it a little bit. But it will it'll give you a starting point that's very, very close to where you need to be. Now, when we're talking about this color matching process, there's one thing that I really want to stress here, and that is, don't get so tied down or bogged down with trying to get that 100% perfect match, color match, because, I'll be honest, it's probably not going to happen. Guys, folks like me that do this for a living, this is what we do, every day for years. Even with all that experience, we rarely get it 100%. Instead, what you want to try and focus on is try and get it close enough to fool the eye. And I guess what I mean by that is that, there's different techniques that we're going to cover here, probably in the next episode, on how you can blend in and kind of shade out the border or the perimeter of a repair. The goal is to try and get it close enough to where you don't notice it. Not to say that you can't find it if you look hard enough, but you just want to get it close enough to where you don't notice it. And the reason that the reason that I want to stress this is that even though you may match a color for one particular repair spot, if you're working on, if you're doing repairs that, say you've got a hole up at the bow, or, and some gel coat scratches along the side, one up on the top of the deck, all three of those areas, even though they're the same color, they're going to be different. The color that you match on the side of a hull, on one area of the hull, is going to be different than the other side of the hull, or the back of or the transom of the boat. When you're looking over the boat as a whole, yeah, you don't notice it, because that change is so gradual, and it just shades from one spot into another. That's the same kind of approach you want to take when you're looking to match your gel coat repairs. Get it close enough to where it doesn't jump out at you, and then with the different blending techniques and ways that you can shade it and taper it off, that's where you're going to, more or less make the repair go away. All right, so enough babbling. Let's actually get into this here.
This has been a Boatworks Today production.